That would have been a good little line for the pre-show kind of blooper thing, but I guess it won't be recorded now.
Well, why wouldn't it be recorded?
Because I wasn't recording when I said it.
Should we warn people that you're eating a polo mint?
Shut up.
You know what I need to do? I need to find a coaster, because can you hear this?
Yep. Yes, I can hear that.
Right before I do. Hold on, let me
Clunk.
Let me find something that can be used as a coaster. Life as We Do Not Know It by Peter Ward makes an excellent coaster.
Is that a book?
The NASA search for I can never say this word, and synthesis of alien life.
Cool.
Potential fodder if I ever get around to doing alternate biology. And now we're definitely going to cut that because everyone's going to be like, yay, alternate biology.
Actually, hold on. I need to get my notes, so we may as well cut all this as well. 1 second. Bye. Bye forever.
Bill, last time we recorded, at the very end, you mentioned a thing about silver mining, and you said you were going to bring it up in this episode. So,
yes.
Do you want to go on that? I'm intrigued to hear what this is all about.
Sure thing. So, there's a place in the Czech Republic called Kutná Hora.
Okay.
And it's famous for silver mines. And it's also famous because there's a district of Kutná Hora, or a nearby town called Sedlec, which is the location of the Sedlec Ossuary, which is a church that's entirely decorated inside with human bones. Like, everything is made out of bones.
I know that church.
Metal as hell. I haven't been there, but I've been to the Czech Republic a few times, and I've seen loads of tourist things for it. And the next time I'm going to make a point of getting to Sedlec Ossuary. But anyway, Kutná Hora is known for its silver mines, or it was in the Middle Ages. And apparently the workers there, they would go down the mines on Monday with 5 or 6 days food, and they would work all week and come back to the surface on Sunday to see their families and attend mass and just, have their day off. And then they would go back down the next day.
Oh, so they'd live in the mines?
They would live, 6 nights out of 7 or something in the mines.
Wow. I'm assuming this is a standard mine. There's not like some big subterranean cavern where everyone can fit comfortably. Is this sleeping in what I think a mine is, like a tiny little channel?
I suspect for that to be necessary, they must have been pretty enormous. Like, for it to be worthwhile for them to actually stay down there rather than just come back up. It must have been a big mine where they would have to travel quite far underground.
Wow, that's amazing. That sounds terrible. Like, all of mining, especially subterranean mining, is kind of terrible. Especially me being like a digital guy who works at a computer in his house like all the time. But that sounds particularly bad. You're completely separated.
Soft millennial.
A very soft millennial. A marshmallow millennial. But that sounds particularly bad. Like an entire week away. Ooh, not good.
Not good, no.
Cool. A bit of mining follow-up. I'm looking at the Kutná Hora flag. It is unremarkable.
It's got a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. It's unremarkable in the sense that they're just taking the coat of arms and just like literally just stretched it out into a rectangle. There wasn't too much invention going on there. The city looked beautiful, or the town.
Look at the lion on the flag.
The lion on the flag.
Do you notice anything weird about the lion?
It's white.
That's not that uncommon in heraldry to have white lions.
Okay, hold on. It's got a yellow tongue.
No, not quite that.
Okay, it's got 2 tails.
It's got 2 tails.
It's got 2 tails. Does that mean anything?
Yeah, that's a Czech thing.
Ooh.
You see that a lot in the Czech Republic. When I was there, lots of statues in Prague have lions with 2 tails. And some bank had, its mascot was a lion in a business suit. And it had 2 tails.
Class.
That's really weird. What's that about? And so I asked the tour guide. And it's an old symbol because Czech Republic... I really prefer the name Czechia, but not many people use it. Or Czechia. I'm not sure which way it's meant to be pronounced.
Is that a legit thing?
Yeah, it's been advised by lots of different organizations, and it's like officially approved by the Czech government, I think. Because saying the Czech Republic is just kind of annoying and long to me, which you could just say, like, Czechia. But anyway, it's an old symbol of the Czech people because it's two kingdoms, Bohemia and Moravia, and each tail is one of the kingdoms. And it's kind of like the lion having two tails shows their kind of unity.
Oh, that's cool. I thought it was based on like naturally occurring local fauna, and they actually legit have two-tailed lions. That would have been really nice.
It would have been very cool, but I don't think they do.
Oh, that's cool. That's interesting. Anything? Do you know of anything about this raven by any chance? Is there any cool story about that, or is it just it's just a bird?
I'm not sure. Let's check. Let's see if.
Let's check.
Most
puns.
Tired joke in history.
I am going to complain about puns at a later stage, and I feel sorry that I have engaged in punning.
No, it's in Bohemia itself. It's not in Silesia, so it's not the Silesian eagle. So I don't know what it is. No, I couldn't say. It's probably something like a specific local kind of symbol or something.
There you go. Flag and information about this town will be in the show notes.
Yes.
Anything else on the mines there, or is that the point you wanted to get across?
That was it kind of occurred to me as a cool thing when we were talking about mines last week, and also the awful labour conditions that you mentioned around the Ijen volcano. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty terrible. Here's another awful labour condition. I
mean, but again, like, do you get like good labour conditions around mines? I don't think that's a thing that happens.
Possibly not. I mean, like, they're probably better today than they were then.
Yeah, it's still pretty bad. There's a mine near where I live in my familial home, and it's now no longer in operation, but they have a museum there, and it ran way up into modern times, like maybe 20, 30 years ago it stopped, and the museum just depicts an image of just utter hardship. Like, it's, and that's a modern mine in a first world country that ran up until like the 70s or 80s, and it's still horrific. So I don't know if good mining conditions exist.
What were they mining?
Coal.
Oh yeah, coal mines are brutal because it's in really like thin seams. So yeah, it's like 2 foot high kind of thing, so it's really awkward to mine. See,
that's what I was thinking when you brought up the silver mine. I was like, that's what I think a mine is, and it's like, are people just lying, like topping and tailing the entire way down the mine?
I don't know.
I hope not.
Different things obviously come in different seams and in like different kind of structures. So I don't think everything is quite as difficult as coal.
Yeah, not all mines will look exactly the same. And their structure will be based upon the thing that is to be extracted.
Yeah, there was coal mines not a huge distance away from me as well in Castle Comer, which is across the border and up the hill. It's kind of in Kilkenny, and it used to be traded. It used to be brought down and traded in Carlow and in my home village. Like, they would bring it down and it would be loaded onto boats there for the river trade.
Yeah, I figure there's coal mines everywhere here, surely.
Not everywhere. I mean, it only occurs in some places, but they wouldn't be hugely uncommon.
The thing you brought up, name of that town. What's the name of that town?
Castle Comer.
Yeah. Okay, Irish names, right? Mm-hmm. Have you ever stopped and thought about Irish place names, and they're kind of like, they sound like they're from Middle Earth? Like,
all the time. Well, no, that hasn't been my thought about them, but I do think about them a lot, yes.
Like, the place where this happens a lot for me is on the Dart. Mm-hmm. So many of the Dart stops. Oh, I'm sorry, for the listeners, the Dart is like the rail system in Dublin.
The local rail for Dublin, yeah.
The local rail for Dublin. But so many of the stops on the Dart are like real fantasy-esque. Hold on, I have a map. Let me point out a few here, okay? Rathdrum. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really badass. Let me see. I always like Shankill because it just sounds really dodgy, even though it's a really nice area. Glenageary.
Yeah.
Sandy Cove and Glasstool. Like, Glasstool sounds like it's straight out of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And there's
Greystones.
Greystones is great, yeah. And there's loads of them like that. And every time I'm on the Dart, I'm always kind of like, I am traveling through Middle Earth. This is great.
Where I lived in my first year of college before I met you, but just down the road from where I lived when I met you first, is one of the mosques in Dublin.
This is on South Circular.
On the South Circular Road, yeah.
Yeah.
And I used to walk past it, all the time, walking to and from town. But when I moved in first, there had been a storm or something recently enough, and their sign had been slightly damaged. And one of the letters had fallen off, on the Irish language sign. So where it should have said, I can't remember what the Irish for mosque is. I think it's just mosque. Where it should have said Mosque Balliol Clia being the Irish for Dublin. Mm-hmm. The C had fallen off, and it said Mosque Balliol, and Balliol would translate literally as Greyford. Ooh. And that sounds like a total fantasy name, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. They should change it to that.
Greyford, I like it. So yeah, listeners, study Irish maps. It's good fodder there. It's really good. So next up, Asmodean _ made a thing, and that thing was cool. They made a video based on the outtakes of this podcast, and it's really good, and it's really funny, and I really like it because it's just like, it's text based, and there's a bit of IPA nerdery happening in it, and it was nice. It was a really cool nostalgia trip to be like, oh, I remember when I said those things like a year ago. It's great. It was really good. So we will link in the show notes, and apparently there's sort of an idea to do more of these, which I fully endorse, because these are great. Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. I think they said it was part of practicing writing with a new calligraphy pen.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I really really enjoyed transcribing our snorts and laughs and giggles and general verbal tics into IPA. I was very entertained by that.
The best one for me was the bit where you had laughed and I was in the middle of like inhaling, and the IPA transcription, because you can't hear me inhale, is just a blank box. I think it's great, and it perfectly like punctuates the humor. It's so good. It's so good. There's also maybe the rumor has it that there may be some characters coming into this series of Artifexian podcast inspired videos, and apparently there might be a Bill Napoleon mashup thing happening. What do you think of that?
I want to clarify my position here.
Okay.
I am not a Bonapartist as such.
Okay.
He's a really interesting individual, and he's like a personal kind of badass, but I don't agree with all of his... I agree with some of his politics, but I don't agree with all of his politics.
Yeah, but Bill, you know the way humor works, right? Whereby you take a person's stance and you like elevate it beyond all sort of sense of realism, so it becomes funny. Yeah?
No, I'm fine with that. I just want to clarify my position, okay? And also, I also want to point out that the Napoleon hat that like most people associate with him is a bicorn hat, and it was used by lots of different militaries in that era. So I think it would be an appropriate usage if it was put onto my avatar, because I'm interested in that era, and it wouldn't necessarily imply Bonapartist sympathies or tendencies.
Okay, and it gets the point across that you're a big Bonapartist as well.
How about you
Oh god, I can't wait to see it. If it happens, great. It'd be so cool. Because I don't have anything fun to look forward to in this regard, because I would imagine my character would be the Artifexian alien. That seems like the natural thing to do. So it'd be fun to see stick figure Bill not Bonaparte. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, so if more happens, Asmodean _ link us, definitely we will share and distribute and all that sort of jazz. And links in the show notes to the first video. Go check it out. It's really fun. Yeah. So, on to another point.
People were positive about your writing, Edgar.
People were positive about my writing. There's not much to discuss here other than I just want to say thanks to people. Like, they were really nice. And there was, like, some really good constructive criticisms. Like, people saying, like, you know, the last line of the thing you wrote is a bit jarring. Here's the reasons why. Maybe look into doing something like this. Everyone was great. That's literally all I have to say about this. Just people are class, and thank you for being class.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Bill,
on their behalf.
Do you have a thing on world building Anvil?
Yeah, no, I have not listened to this, but remember a few weeks ago, or a few episodes ago, we were talking about world-building podcasts and how there don't seem to be many. Mm-hmm. Well, I found one.
Oh, one that wasn't linked by people after the show, like completely independently of the show.
I don't remember it being being linked. You know what? Maybe I'd better just check the subreddit.
But either way, you didn't go from the subreddit to that podcast. You literally just found it independently.
Yeah, I had found it a while ago and bookmarked it and then forgotten about it.
Okay.
But there we go. And I was tidying up all of my bookmarks the other day because, you know, it's obviously a good use of my time. And I came across it again, and I was like, "Oh, there's a thing." And we should, you know, I would have liked to have known that 2 months ago when we discussed this.
Speaking of, while you're looking there, speaking of a good use of time, I was really not in the mood to do work one of the days. And you know the way you do that thing where you're like, "Today I will rearrange my bookmarks, and I'm being productive. I am doing work. Look at me go." I had a similar thing, except I just redid the aesthetics of the Artifexian website. No one cares. Like, this is not a thing that is important at all, but I spent like a good maybe hour or two just like picking a new color scheme and doing all of this. And then afterwards I felt like I'd done a solid day's work and I was really happy with myself. And then I played City Skylines. And then,
I like the new color scheme.
Yeah, the dark mode was kind of necessary. I was going on the website late at night one time and the white just burned my eyes. So from now on, I think anything that can be made dark mode will be made dark mode because it's just better. But anyhow, point being, it's funny how we find these menial little tasks that ultimately don't really make that much of a difference, but we feel really super like productive after having done so. So that was my one. Yours is bookmarks. Mine is website redesigns.
Well, I reorganized all of my bookmarks and I deleted any ones that I didn't want anymore. And I went through my academic PDF library and reorganized and standardized all the metadata. So
nice.
I think that was a good day.
Do you know what I've done? I've realized this is completely off point, but now that we're in the same time zone, we can kind of record for a little bit longer. I have gotten rid of bookmarks. I don't use bookmarks anymore. No, I find they're just so cluttering. Like, I used to have a big massive bar on the top of my browser with tons of bookmarks, like folders within folders. And very often I find that they became kind of like clickbait, for want of a better word. Like, I would be bored and then I would be like, oh, there's the Facebook bookmark. Click. And then you're there scrolling through your friend's feed for the next like 40 minutes. So in eradicating them, I kind of have like a blank minimal browser, and then I kind of only ever do what I want to do, as opposed to just kind of like mucking around. That's kind of working. It's a bit awkward constantly having to type out, you know, youtube.com and Facebook, but I think it's good. I think it was a good change.
I don't have them visible on my browser. I have to like open the menu. I have to like open the bookmarks menu and scroll through them there. So they're hidden away. It's much tidier.
Yeah, that's that. I've tried doing that, but I always forgot the shortcut, and then I was like, "Oh crap! How do I get this back?" And it's like, "Where's the little gear icon? Oh, there it is." Click down on what folder where is the thing? And then it just took me forever, and I got frustrated. So I was like, "No, it's either you have bookmarks or you don't." For me, so yeah. Anyhow. Sorry. What world building anvil? So you were checking a thing.
World Builders Anvil.
World Builders Anvil.
It's on iTunes anyway. It may be available other places. I'll send you the link for the show notes.
Cool.
It's at like 200, almost 200 episodes, 192.
Is this a pro podcast, or is this like us, like two amateurs just sitting in a room pretending to talk about understand the things they talk about?
I have not listened to it yet.
Oh, you haven't. That's right.
But I will, and it's there if other people want to see it. And it seems that it might be a little bit. It says it mentions game mastering and writing fiction. So yeah, it covers a couple of different aspects of the hobby and a couple of different end goals for the hobby. So yeah, there we go.
Cool. I will put it in the show notes. Go check it out. I will also have a listen. It's good to know of more world building podcasts. Absolutely. Good to know we're not alone sailing on this sea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think that's follow up done. Do you have anything fun in the emails?
Anything fun in the emails? Let me check. So we've got actually 2 emails about binary planets.
Mm-hmm.
So first one here is from Ethan Price again. And we're just asking in general about how do binary planets work. They're currently working on a star system with a pair of co-orbital binary planets in the habitable zone. And they're just kind of looking for numbers as to how that would work. And we've actually got a very similar question from Chiquiko Sotome.
Long-time listener.
Good to hear from you again, Chiquiko.
Mm-hmm.
And it's their question is, if you lived on the surface of a moon in a binary system, what would the movement of the other moon look like from the surface of your planet?
Okay, right. So let's talk about this. So the first point about the binary moons, how do they work? The binary moons work kind of like a regular planet and moon system, except that they are of equal size or near equal size. Mm-hmm. So I think people get really confused when they're kind of like, oh my god, 2 planets together, what is this madness? When just think of it like an overly large moon. And there is, I discuss it a little bit in one of my moon building videos, and I'll throw the links in the show notes and you can go check it out. But I think once you rephrase it in your mind as being, this is just a moon that happens to be like almost as massive as the planet, it becomes a lot easier to think about them, because we all kind of intuitively grasp the idea of a planet and a moon. And if you just think about a planet and a bigger moon, it kind of like it helps that way.
2 planets sharing an orbit and orbiting around a common center.
Yeah, but again, when you put it in planet land, then you're suddenly kind of like, I've no way of grasping what 2 planets do. But when you're just kind of like, it is a planet and an abnormally large moon that orbit around the common center, then you're kind of like, I know what a moon and a planet is. This makes sense.
Right.
Links in the show notes anyways to the video, and you can go check it out.
And all the maths for working out like how they would orbit around each other is in the videos and everything, yeah?
Yeah, that's a good point. So then they kind of become, then you can almost think of them, when they become equal size, you can kind of think of them as stars. And use all the formulae that I've laid out in those multiple star building videos, but just apply it to the planets. Because orbital mechanics is orbital mechanics, regardless of what the bodies are.
Right.
Because like binary stars, they orbit a common center of mass and all that sort of jazz. And the same thing I haven't tried it, but like I can't see why it wouldn't, should work for binary moons. So I'll leave those in the show notes as well.
Okay.
Now, the point about what the moon would look like, my intuitive feeling from thinking about this for a little bit, is that it would be very much like our moon, like standing on the surface of one moon and looking at the other will be very much akin to an Earth-like experience, except that the other moon will increase and decrease in size drastically as the orbit goes, depending on like how close the bodies are. That's my gut feeling. I could
be a fixed distance from each other, right?
No, like hold on, let's look. Hold on, let me find a diagram. Binary stars. Wait, there's a nice simulation on Wikipedia for stars now, but again, the same thing is applicable. Can I find it? Yeah, this guy here. I will put this in the show notes. I will put this in the show notes for people as well, so they can check it out. Let me see. I'll send it to you on Skype.
Okay. I have a Skype message.
Oh my god, a Skype message?
Who could this be from? Oh, okay. Is that the only way that a binary system would work?
No, because again, it depends on how close they are in mass. Like if the other body is significantly lower in mass, then it becomes more and more akin to an Earth-Moon system. So you're not going to get
like Pluto and Charon, because they just kind of have a circular orbit around a common center, don't they? They don't. I don't think they do this.
No, they don't do that because Charon isn't equimass to Jupiter. Like they're getting close, like more than any other planet.
You mean to Pluto?
To Pluto. More did I say Jupiter?
Yes.
Sorry. Let me take that again. So Charon isn't close enough in mass to Pluto to allow for this type of orbit. This sort of like 2-egg orbit. But if you look at it, again, there's some simulations with Wikipedia for that as well. Pluto does make a little circle, like a pronounced little circle, and Charon does its thing as well. So this is what happens when they're like of equivalent mass. And so this is like the extreme case. And then think of the other extreme case as being the Earth and the Moon, where one is seen as almost stationary and the other one orbits around it. And then you have to try and envisage what happens as the limits of their masses become closer and closer. That all said, I still think the best way of envisaging what this will all look like is to get Universe Sandbox, set up a binary moon system, and then just like put yourself on one of the moons and play the simulation and look at what happens to your moon.
Right.
I think that's the best way of doing it, because I have no maths to predict this, to predict what will happen and like how they will look and things like that. So it's either just use your imagination or use Universe Sandbox and look at simulations of other bodies that are similar to the things you want to do, and then judge off that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think that does.
But Universe Sandbox is not free, though, I will say. But I think it's that if you're a person who's kind of nitpicky about like how things will look in space and what will it look like to be on the surface of this, looking at that, Universe Sandbox is a really good resource, definitely.
Cool.
So yeah, there you go. Long-winded discussion about binary moons. Links in the show notes.
Can I have a slight digression?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Go for it. What's up?
No, you said no.
You always do. He always turns around to me.
Could it be possible, or could you have a body in horseshoe orbit that is large enough to be visible from the surface of a planet? So you know the horseshoe orbit?
Yeah. Yes, because that happens in our system.
Really?
Yeah, it's in one of my videos again, links in the show notes. Janus and Euphrates, I can't pronounce the name of the two moons. They're two Saturn's moons, and they are roughly equal size, if I recall correctly, and they are in a horseshoe orbit.
So could a planet, say, the size of Earth have a satellite in a horseshoe orbit, but one that was like large enough to be visible?
I would say so. Yeah, I don't think that is forbidden by the laws of the universe.
Cool. Because that would be a cool calendar to have.
That's interesting. As in, wait, hang on. No, hold on. What would that do to the calendar?
I don't know. It would be a cool thing to base it on. You know, when it grows bigger and goes away and then comes back on again and goes away again. And it would be a cool, like, thing if you had a fantasy world or a fictional world to base it around, like, the culture. This is the thing they observe and that they count the passage of time by.
That's fair. Yeah, their lunar calendars will be a whole lot more exciting than ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think any of that is verboten. I think that is all well doable, and certainly within the realms of like a slightly fantastical thing, it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Look at me. I was able to answer. See, you know what the problem with listener submitted emails? I love them. They're really good. The only thing is, I think people assume that I am like a fountain of world building knowledge, and I know all this stuff like off the top of my head, when really I am super stupid, and like I just really like researching things. So I always find it really amazing when someone asks a question and be like, I have an answer to this without research. It just feels really cool, because usually it's like someone will ask a question, I'm like, I should go away and research that for a little bit and perhaps turn it into a video. Because I haven't the slightest idea what the answer to this is. So that feels really good.
So you're going to make me a horseshoe orbits video, is what you're saying?
I mean, I already did, so, you know.
But look, a calendar is based on horseshoe orbits video is what you're going to make me next.
We'll see, Bill. We'll see. I will say slight spoilers, or spoilers, I suppose. Preview, exactly. Someone left a interesting question in the subreddit. I can't remember which thread it was on. It was on some thread. And that may become a short video, like a really quick 2-minute sort of like, what happens when X? And that is a thing that might happen. So that listener has directly impacted my release schedule. Assuming what I've concocted is actually correct. I'm having it checked at the moment. So yeah, bit of a sneaky preview there. Anyways, more emails.
More emails. Okay, we've got one here from Aramus. And their question is, I'm writing to you to inquire about the topic of developing societies from scratch in worlds. Specifically, I'm working on otherworldly fantasy, as opposed to medieval England-style fantasy, and I've always struggled with working on what the day-to-day life is for the average person in my world. Where should I start? I know that there are smaller questions I need to ask, like cultural dishes and clothing styles, but what are the bigger questions I should ask myself?
Bill, I feel like this is in your terrain.
I will send you a few links to put in the show notes, because there are lots of checklists and stuff I've come across on exactly this topic. So when you're thinking about a society, how does it work? What goes on? Like, how is the society constructed and how does it see itself? There's a bunch of checklists that people have come up with to go through about how do they... actually, I'll pull one up now and I'll read out some of the...
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Do they like licorice? Yes or no?
The answer should always be no.
The answer, there shouldn't even be a no option. It should just be yes. One box.
Somewhat and lots are the two options.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay, so here's just one I found online. It's divided into a few sections. The first one, general. Do average people believe old tales, or do they dismiss some that have a basis in fact? Do wild and rebellious young people dress differently from anyone else? Are they allowed to do so? And how do most people make a living? So that's just like 3 questions to think about. If we go down, let's say, we'll pick out some from customs. Does the weather or climate contribute to any habits or customs, such as a mid-afternoon siesta in hot countries? Who is normally present for births? Is it strictly a matter for women, or are men involved, or is the only woman present the expectant mother? What personal weapons are available to anyone who can afford them? Are some considered for nobles only, either by custom or by law? Are there laws forbidding certain classes from being armed at all? No, I just picked those 3 from random. There's a list of several for the customs. Like, I just picked those 3 out of random, and I can think of lots of different examples of those questions being relevant in historical societies. So that seems like a pretty solid list. Pick a letter between C and J, Edgar.
It's gonna have to be E.
E for Edgar.
E for Edgar.
Okay.
E for eloquent. Nope.
Gestures. When meeting someone, how are they greeted? Wave, handshake, bow, some other gesture. How did the greeting gesture originate? For example, shaking hands to prove one's weapon hand was empty.
Is that where handshaking originated from?
I think that's why people shake with their right hand rather than their left, because your right hand was your weapon hand, and if you were using your weapon hand, you weren't going to be stabbing them with your sword.
Wait, hang on, hold on. Mind blown here. Do people not shake with just their dominant hand?
Yeah.
No? As in, but lefties will shake with their left hand.
Yeah, but remember, lefties used to be burned at the stake for being changelings.
for being changelings?
Yeah. Did you not know that?
Of all things, like you'd expect like an abomination, but a changeling?
No, left-handed people are only there because the fairies stole the baby and replaced it with a fairy baby, and that's why they're the wrong way around.
Oh, Bill, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting my science lessons from school. You're 100% right.
Well, that was like an old thing. There were changelings. Yeah.
Do you know what one of my favorite ways that people greet one another in fiction is from Final Fantasy X?
Okay.
They have this like little prayer gesture that they do. I can't describe it. It's kind of like it looks kind of like they're holding a ball and they're like, you know, sculpting the shape of a ball in air, and there's a little bow. And as a child playing that game, I was like, that was it felt like so a part of that world that it just made total sense, and it became a real thing. And yeah, that was really interesting. And didn't just do the lame handshake hug thing. They came up with an actual thing, and it got tied into their culture. Like it was religious, but it was also kind of it was used at sporting events, and it was really well thought out, just for a little gesture to say hi.
Cool.
It was really good. It was very, very good. Give me another letter. I want to pick another letter. Let's go L for licorice.
That comes after J.
I don't, but I want. Is there no option to extend the boundaries to get the best letters in? No.
I'll take I because that's the second letter of licorice.
Oh, I guess so.
Okay, so I'll pick one out at random from the category religion and the gods.
What's
a good one here?
At random, while I go through and select precisely.
Oh, did I say at random at first?
You did, yeah.
Okay, well, I've decided not to do it at random. I've decided to pick a good one that I can talk well about because I care about the quality of this podcast, Edgar.
That makes two.
So, what customs surround death and burial? Is there a special class of people, doctors, priests, funeral directors, untouchables, etc., who deal with dead bodies? What things must be done and why? You burn hair to free the spirit, burn body to prevent necromancy, etc. Are the dead feared, revered, or ignored?
Yeah, these are solid.
These are solid. Now, I've come across a few versions of this concept, a few different lists. Sometimes they're a bit rubbish. Sometimes they're pretty good. I would always say, don't just think of them as this is a singular question that you'd need to have a specific answer for. Don't treat it quite as prescriptive as that, but use it as a jumping off point to think about those issues. I think that's a more useful way to approach it.
Yeah, fully agree. Can you define for people what's a bad example of a list? Like, what should people avoid?
If they're looking for a list to use in making a society, what is a bad one?
Yeah, like what's some of the things to be avoided? Like,
I think ones that make kind of too many assumptions already about the culture. Like I was reading one a while ago, someone posted it to World Building, and it was something like, it made some kind of assumption that all societies have an Oedipus complex, or have the concept of an Oedipus complex, which is utterly absurd. Okay. And obviously that makes it kind of a suspect. You know, it wouldn't make me have much faith in it as a good list to use. But as I said, you could look at all of these as jumping off points and think about the questions critically rather than just thinking they're, you know, things that have to be answered. So even at that, it's, you know, it's not the worst, because if you're thinking about that critically, you're thinking, well, why would that be? Why should that exist? And you could still do interesting stuff with it. Yeah,
engage critically. Definitely, yeah. That's really cool. I would say a little bit more, I suppose. Maybe just try and engage critically in everyday life as well. Like, so much of what we go through in our regular day-to-day, we don't ever think about. Like, why is that like this? Or why did this occur? And just, I suppose, take a second to think about that and try and trace it back to its genesis. And then that could be a source of inspiration, I think.
Read your Foucault. And
Foucault?
Yeah, you know the writer Foucault?
Foucault, no. Fire. That means fire, doesn't it? That's Foucault.
In what language?
You tested me now, Bill.
Just say something and say, "Oh, that means this," and not know what language you're talking.
No. You see, hang on.
Because you're probably right in some language.
No. Hang on. I know it means fire because it was the name of a piece that I once played in college.
Okay.
Is it French? The guy was French. He was a French. Hold on. I'm gonna look this up. Update. It's not French. Hold on. I can do this. Hold on. What is that?
It's probably a Romance language because it's fogo in Portuguese.
Yeah, Spanish is fuego.
Yeah, like Tierra del Fuego.
Yeah, I gotta look that up. I hope it means fire. I'm pretty sure it means fire.
Boy, is your face red. What about Italian? Fuoco, it's Italian.
It's Italian. That guy has nothing to do with it.
Fuoco.
It's Italian. There you go. Fuoco, an Italian word. Learn something every day.
So Michel Foucault was a French writer in kind of the mid 20th century, and he wrote a lot about how society is constructed and kind of subconscious and unconscious forms of power and domination that exist in society.
So why did you bring up this person again?
Because you said we see how things work in society, but we'd never actually think about them. Why is that this way? And that's, some of his stuff is about that. And that's, society works in unconscious ways.
Oh, fair. That's fair, yeah. Links in the show notes? Can we link this?
I haven't actually read all that much of them, but you could just link to his Wikipedia or something, I guess.
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, anything else in emails?
Last thing two more in the emails. Another email from Chiquiko asking about tidally locked planets and whether that would work and how it would work. So,
would it work? Yes.
Okay. And they could be habitable?
They could be habitable, yeah. I mean, the common thing is that, yes, they could be habitable, but not on the day side and not on the night side. You can only really find habitability in the sort of twilight zone that goes around the... Mm-hmm. What's the opposite to the equator?
It'll be called the Terminator.
The Terminator, that's it, that's the word, yeah. That goes around the Terminator. That is the common thing. There's further problems in that to be tidally locked and be in a habitable zone, you have to be tidally locked to a really small star.
Mm-hmm.
And these really small stars tend to be flare stars, and that means every so often they just decide to triple their output and they can irradiate planets.
Yeah.
But you can, there's a documentary series, documentary is the wrong word, but there's a science fiction documentary series, I suppose, BBC did years and years ago, where they asked that question, what would life look like on a tidally locked planet? And they found ways of dealing with these flares. That's where I got my inspiration for the third eye thing with the Takaran fauna.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, but again, I don't think there's anything in science and the laws of the universe that forbids habitability to arise on a tidally locked planet.
My thought would have been that if it was in a habitable zone, say of a Sol-like star, a sun-like star, that the side facing the sun would just be constantly blasted, and it would kind of boil away the atmosphere, or it would make the heat difference between the night side and the day side would mean that would be constant extreme weather conditions, something like that. Yeah,
though that is a thing. That's definitely.
Well, I guess if it was a kind of a low luminosity star, you might even be able to live much closer to the further into the day side, or if it was further out in the habitable, or maybe beyond what we normally consider a habitable zone, but had a different kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, but the only problem there is that you're not going to get that. You're not going to get an Earth that is tidally locked to the sun. It's just we are too far away, and it is not massive enough.
Okay.
So tidal
locking only happens close.
Only kind of happens close, yeah. Well, relatively. I mean, obviously, if you take a the largest star conceivable, the distance Earth is from the sun now would be considered super, super close to that star because of how big it is.
Of
So it's all relative. But yes, generally it's M and K type stars for those star nerds that give rise to locking. Now, that actually, I need to put a little addendum here. This is not a thing I explored, so I'm open to being completely wrong on this. But as far as I'm aware, and this is real spotty science, is that tidal breaking occurs all the time. You know, the sort of way that the moon has slowed the rotation of the Earth?
Yeah.
Things tug and pull on one another. So I think over the course...
Just by orbiting. It's not to do with the fact that the moon is tidally locked. It's just by orbiting.
Yeah, it's just by orbiting. Just gravitational interactions. So I would imagine over the course of many, 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 many millions of years, the Earth may become locked. But that doesn't really give rise to a tidally locked Earth-style scenario, because by the time that happens, the star is like blown up. Right. So that's the thing. So I don't know. Maybe you could kind of fudge numbers and be like, oh yeah, we do have an Earth around a Sol-like star tidally locked because it's like an ancient planet and it's had time to fully break.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I don't know the time frames involved there at all. I've no more information to glean on that. I suppose food for thought. Cool. And then one more, you said?
There's one more email. About lunisolar calendars. So you've done a few videos on this, but we've got an email from Jehodani Gajang.
Oh, well played. I believe a new emailer. We've never heard that name before.
It's not one that's familiar to me.
Welcome aboard.
Good
to have you here.
And they have sent you a calendar. In an Earth-like world, or an Earth-based conculture with an alternate history, and they've sent a lunisolar calendar, and they're just asking you, Edgar, what you think of it, and whether there's anything to change about it.
So I'm going to. I need to talk in general about the calendar thing here, and this will sort of kind of answer the question, but also help others. My system of calendar building is problematic. We've talked about this before, you and I. And it does a very particular thing. It's like for those nerds who, and I am one of them, who want to just precisely tweak things so everything is all perfect all the time. This is the go-to system. Because you can like engineer it such that drifts never occur or whatever. Like you can control things. The concept of taking the Earth and then trying to like retroactively bring it into perfect alignment but keep all of the Earth-like characteristics insofar as possible, that's not really going to work. Like you're never going to take Earth's numbers and make it a perfect calendar such that drifts don't occur, and if they do, they occur on the order of like thousands of years. Right. So that's an important thing. Like I think if I don't mean to like be offensive to the emailer or anything, but I think your premise is wrong. Don't take the Earth and try and make it perfect and make it, make it fit this idea that I particularly like. Just if you want to go with the Earth's thing, if you want to go with exact Earth numbers, just be cool with that. Do it like. And then just be like, okay, there's nearly 12 and a half months per year. How am I going to lay that out in a lunisolar thing? And don't worry about the fine minutiae. Most people won't care about it in the book. Additionally, look at the Metonic Cycle. It's in a video I made. Links in the show notes. The Metonic Cycle is effectively it's a Hebrew calendar that effectively tries to make the whole system as perfect as possible for Earth numbers because we live on Earth. So I suppose look at that. But yeah, point is, only use the calendar building thing that I propose if you want to precisely engineer the numbers to be perfect. If you need particular numbers, then I would imagine don't use the calendar building method.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because what you're talking about is actually changing the numbers. Your method is actually changing what the physical reality of it is, and you can't really do that to an Earth.
You can, yeah, you can't. And even if you decide to like only say, I'll only change the lunar period, such that it's a bit more, it's a bit better. Especially with the lunisolar bit, you kind of need to change everything there. I mean, with the solar calendar, you don't really need to, and things like that. But with the lunisolar, you kind of need to change everything to get everything fine tuned.
Although they have said here in the email they want to have the same natural specifics that we have on Earth. So maybe they aren't changing anything?
Is it no? In the calendar that they sent us, which we won't link because I feel like that's someone's private work. They do change the month. The month is changed ever so slightly, and then I feel like that defeats the purpose of keeping it.
By
Earth-like.
month, you mean the lunar period? The
lunar period. Sorry, thank you for the correction there. Yeah, the lunar period. And
no, just clarifying.
Yeah, no, totally. And that defeats the purpose of keeping the numbers. If you want to keep the numbers, look at the numbers for what they are, and kind of imagine yourself as part of a Kong culture on this like alternate Earth, perhaps, and be like, how might I deal with these numbers? And like, how much accuracy do I actually need? Like, do people care if it's out one day every 20 years? Maybe they don't. Maybe like that's too far out of their scope of thinking, or maybe it's not enough. So you want to keep the numbers, work with the numbers. If you don't care that much about the numbers, then you can go, I think you should go down the precision route, just so like decimal rounding doesn't drive you insane. Does that make sense? I feel like I have not conveyed this clearly at all.
No, I think I'm with you. I think that makes sense.
I hope that kind of helps the email, or I think it should.
Because once you start changing it, it's no longer an Earth-based thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of defeating the point of keeping it on Earth. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, exactly. Embrace Earth's weirdness and find a workaround for it. If you care specifically about the Earth. But yeah, so there you go. That's email's done.
Great.
Yay!
On to main topics.
1 hour in. Oh, Bill, you know what? I really missed the sort of like, we can take our time, we can just talk. There's tangents. There may be the odd licorice misdirection going on. It's really good. I really like it. Anyway, yeah, on to main topic. What you been up to this month, Bill?
I made a map.
You made a map. Been map making.
I have been map making. I think I mentioned this at the end of last episode.
Oh yeah, the alt geographic history Earth thing mashup.
Exactly.
That is exactly the correct term to describe what it is I did.
Pithy and concise. Yeah, so I have sent you this map. Can you bring it up there?
Okay, right. This is Earth.
This is Earth.
But with changes.
So as I said last month, the last episode, I just took cool stuff from history, or stuff that I thought was cool in the geography of the world in history, and jammed it all together without any regard for whether it actually happened at the same time or whether it could possibly happen at the same time. I know there's many ways that I can think about justifying that, but I just thought, hey, these are different cool things. Wouldn't it be fun to have a planet where all of the things that I thought were cool existed at once, even if they are kind of contradictory?
Oh, you're going to have to talk to me about the contradictions here, because I don't know enough about this. But hold on, before we do that, I got a couple of things, right?
Okay.
Number one, I like your choice of projection. Well done.
I think it's just a regular equidistant. Yeah,
but it's not Mercator. Nothing wrong with Mercator, but sometimes just it becomes a default, and it's nice to see something that's not Mercator.
I see Mercator so infrequently.
I'm constantly on Google Maps.
Yeah.
And it opens as a default on the world view. So I see the big, enormous Greenland all the time.
Yeah, I mean, other than Google Maps, I don't think I see it very often at all. I hang out in mappy kind of spaces, so maybe that's why. But
I know, mappy sort of spaces with my map friends. So well done, choice of projection. I like it.
Okay.
The other thing is, can I try and go through this and spot the differences?
Okay, 1 second. I think there's 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe 17, actually.
Okay, let's see if I can spell the distances. Listeners, you can play along. Links in the show notes.
Yeah, 17.
Okay.
Now, some of them might, like, you might, like, might be the same thing. I'm counting as 2, or I might be counting 2 things as 1 or whatever. But we'll figure it out.
Let's see if we can get in the ballpark anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with Europe.
Okay.
The land bridge between continental Europe and Ireland and England.
Yes.
Is 1. Are you counting the land bridge between like Denmark and Sweden as another one?
Yes, let's say yes.
Okay.
That's not what I have it listed at, but it's functionally the same, yeah.
Okay. The Mediterranean, non-existent.
Yeah, well, yeah.
What do you mean, well, yeah, but there's no Mediterranean.
The Mediterranean Sea isn't there. The basin is still there, but you can't see that on the map.
Right, okay, yeah, the sea is not there. I'm going to include, is it the Black Sea that feeds into the Mediterranean?
Yeah, no, that's part of the Mediterranean issue,
yeah. Okay.
So that's still 3.
That's all I can see in Europe. Okay, let's go over to Asia. Japan seems to be merged with the top of Russia and the Koreas.
Yep.
There is a land bridge between Russia and the States.
Mm-hmm.
Loads of the island, like the Indonesian islands, some of them, most of them, I think, have been merged with like Southwest Asia.
Southeast
Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Papua New Guinea and Australia have become one.
Correct.
In a great union. Australia, half of the eastern half of Australia is severed and has merged with New Zealand.
Nope.
What?
Nope. Australia is complete. All of Australia is part of Australia.
All of Australia is part of Australia. New Zealand...
Australia hasn't broken up.
New Zealand is a mega continent?
Correct.
That's great.
Well, it's a microcontinent, or a sunken continent.
I mean,
yeah.
that's not small. What's there?
Yeah, but it's not like the size of... It's like maybe, say, Europe, even, and Europe shouldn't even really be a continent, so...
That's fair. That is fair. Then I'll leave that one, the obvious one, to last, because I need to talk to you about that. Let's dive back up to Asia. Okay, Sri Lanka and India are joined.
Correct.
The Maldives are a teardrop. I joke. Okay, Africa. So the eastern half of Africa is severed from the rest of Africa.
Yes, the Somalian plate has moved out into the Indian Ocean.
I don't think there's anything weird about Arabia. No, not really. Okay, I think that's everything there. Okay, let's go up to the Americas. Okay, right. So California is its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
There, the Independent Republic of California is truly independent, like a different landmass. Then the states is severed is cut in twain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's anything funky going on with Canada. I have no idea. Maybe that big giant lake might be a merger of 2 of the Great Lakes. I don't know. The islands of Canada look fine. There's something funky going on above Iceland.
There is, well spotted.
Oh, we need to put a pin in that. I've never seen that before. We need to talk about it.
Okay.
And then Panama, not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a big gash running down through South America.
Correct.
How many have I hit? Oh, barring Fantasyland down the bottom there.
You have mentioned every single thing.
Hey! Whoop.
Yeah.
Whoop whoop. Now, do I understand any of it? Nope.
Okay. Do you want to mention the obvious one?
So yeah, the obvious one is like just to the east, the southeast of Madagascar, is an island, a fairly massive island. This and the thing above Iceland I want you to talk about because I have never come across any of this. So do you want to start with Bill, do you remember when you were younger, there's that program where it was like a polar bear and like a Jewish mouse were on an island that floated around the place?
Noah's Island.
Noah's Island. So do you want to talk about Noah's Island down the bottom there?
I I was a little too old for Noah's Island. I didn't really watch it.
You old! Do you know what's amazing, right? In nearly every social situation, I'm always the old one, and I'm always joking about being the granddad of the group. And then, up until this point, it hadn't occurred to me, you're older than me. I'm the young one here. This is so liberating. This is a liberating realization. Anyway,
not by much, but slightly.
it counts. It's a non-zero difference. Do you want to talk about Noah's Island there?
So above Iceland?
No, the one below Madagascar.
Oh, so the one in the south. Okay, this is the Kerguelen Plateau.
The Kerguelen Plateau.
Or possibly Kerguelen, I don't know.
Kerguelen. That was adorable. Kerguelen.
Okay, I'm going to look it up. I don't want to be adorable. I want to be taken seriously.
Would it be okay if you were both taken seriously and were adorable? Would you? Yeah, you take that. Okay, good. Kerguelen.
Oh, it looks like it might just be Kerguelen. Oh, that's disappointing. Kerguelen, the Kerguelen Islands. Let's say, I don't know. Okay. This is a real place. The Kerguelen Islands are in the south, in the South Seas, and the thing that really exists is the very southern tip of this island that you see down here.
Okay.
But it's actually part of a much larger mass called the Kerguelen Plateau, which in reality is sunken and is below the sea level. But for the purposes of this, I just raised it up.
Was it ever above sea level?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's known.
Right, okay. And you said the bit that actually exists is the southern part. Like, what is that in real life? Is that part of Antarctica?
It's the Kerguelen Islands.
Oh, they are a thing.
Yes, they are a real thing.
Okay, do you want to spell that for me there really quickly?
Keor. GUE.
Yeah.
LEN.
Islands.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So they're only a very, very small part of this plateau.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Oh, cool. Interesting. And then, so what's going on above Iceland there? Is that I really hope this isn't just something as boring as a volcano along the Mid-Atlantic Ridge may have spawned an island. Let's put one there.
No, it's an actual thing again. It's quite similar to the Kerguelen Plateau. There is an actual island there called Jan Mayen.
Okay.
And that would be the north tip of the island I've added here. And it is part of, I think, is it the Jan Mayen Ridge? And that basically is, I've again brought it up from below the sea. Cool. The Jan Mayen microcontinent, it's called.
Wow, that's really interesting. Huh, yeah. Cool.
It's a fragment of continental crust within the oceanic part of the Western Eurasian plate lying northeast of Iceland. So again, I just looked up where it was, and I roughly drew that into this map.
I find it interesting that there isn't more going on in the Atlantic.
In my map?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Oh, wait, hang on now, hold on. Is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge is pulling apart?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so in the future, there may be a continent there.
I don't think there would be enough to make like a new continent there. You might get islands and stuff from a major event.
Yeah, sorry. But in the future, there might be stuff there, but not in the past.
Possibly, yeah. Actually, I'm going to make a slight amendment here.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything is actually strictly from the past.
Hang on now. What's from the future then?
So there are two elements here that are potentially future. And then I guess the Kerguelen and Jan Mayen might be kind of hypothetical rather than either future or past. I'm not sure. But there are two elements here from potential futures.
I mean, would the whole like Central America isn't their thing, would that be like sea level rise?
No, well, it could be, but that was the case previously as well.
Okay. I don't know. What are the two?
So, the California being separated from the mainland America
is a future event.
Yeah, the San Andreas Fault, San Andreas Rift, like it could potentially open up and drift out away from the mainland.
Huh? And then what's the other one?
Quite similar, the East African Rift. So the Somalian plate is projected to move away from Africa in a couple 100 million years. So
Huh.
that's like there Kenya and Tanzania and down like bits of Mozambique and stuff, and Madagascar will move out into the, and Socotra up in the north of the plate.
Very interesting. You mentioned at the start that there's like contradictions here. What are the contradictions?
Well, so some of these things require higher sea levels, and some of them require lower sea levels.
Right.
And I mean, all the stuff happening in America is based on, well, mostly based on stuff that happened millions of years ago, where the Americas wouldn't even be in those geographic locations, and like the Doggerland, which is the European land bridge, is like on the scale of hundreds of thousands of years ago, maybe not even hundreds of thousands of years ago, because they found Bronze Age stuff under the North Sea from Doggerland, so tens of thousands of years ago, maybe. Less.
That's fair. Was there anything? Why did you not move India? Am I correct in thinking that the Indian plate went northwards and smashed into Asia to produce the Himalayas? So was that just the thing? You're like, I don't want more stuff down in the ocean there.
I just kind of preferred it as it was.
Okay, cool. I like. Are you going to do anything with this map, or is this kind of like a fun exercise? Or are you going to do some currents, map out weather, plot biomes?
I might do. Yeah, I do kind of like the idea of taking it, pretty solidly and seriously. But I also like the idea of being loose with it, so I can have more fun and say it's okay. The Lake of Japan is all frozen over, and not have to worry about whether that's actually plausible. The
Lake of Japan. That's cool. I like that.
Okay. Can I go through all of these and just like name what they are?
Absolutely, go for it. That is something I should have asked.
I'll try. Will I take the same order you did, or will I go through it like from west to east?
Entirely up to you.
Okay, I'm going to take it from west to east.
Let's do that.
So I'm going to start over here. We've got the San Andreas Rift, as I said. California could in the future break away from the mainland of North America.
Mm-hmm.
Now here, the sea that we've got running down the center of North America, it was called the Western Interior Seaway.
Okay.
And that's from, I think oh no, I can't remember what year it is. Let me look it up. I think I would have had this already. It's from the Cretaceous period.
Okay.
So in the Cretaceous period, America was in two parts that were called Laramidia, which is the western part.
Mm-hmm.
And Appalachia, which is the eastern part.
The eastern part, yeah.
Now, in North America, we have this huge lake.
Yes.
This is called Lake Agassiz, and it was one of the largest lakes ever, I think. And it was during the Ice Age. And when it breached, the runoff ran the entire way across the continent and emptied into the Pacific, somewhere around Washington State, where the largest ever known waterfall in history would have been. And apparently its output was greater than all rivers currently on Earth combined.
No.
Apparently so.
That is
someone.
Cool.
I think Loop here linked me to a description of that on Wikipedia, and as far as I can tell, it would have been the runoff from Lake Agassiz. Now, again, this is from something on the scale of tens or hundreds of thousands of years ago, as opposed to the many, many millions that the Western Interior Seaway would have existed. And the Western Interior Seaway existed for a long time, so it wasn't just a single thing. It could have had different shapes and different extents.
Yeah.
They may have overlapped at points, but just for the sake of being cool, I thought I would just put the Lake Agassiz at that size, which is a potential size for it at one stage, and the Seaway at that size.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Just, because I thought it was cool. Okay, now we have the Central American Seaway, which again, something on the scale of hundreds of millions of years ago, possibly in the Cretaceous period as well, actually. Basically, what is now Central America would have been underwater. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And that's not because of plates dividing or anything, that's just high sea levels, is it?
It's probably to do with plates, I think.
Is it? Okay, cool.
So it's from the Mesozoic era, so between 200 and 154 million years ago. And then this gulf we have reaching down south into South America is called the Sebastian Sea. Now, I can't find a lot of information about this.
Wait, hold on. No, sorry. The previous thing you said, that's the Panama not being there.
Yes.
Oh, and this thing is the big indent into South America. Sorry.
Yes.
The indent, that's not plates moving away. That's flooding.
That's to do with sea levels.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Possibly like the way the plate lay on the mantle below, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's called the Sebastian Sea, and it was during the Holocene era. Again, South America would have been divided into many land masses, and as it rose up or as sea levels changed or whatever, that was kind of the last bit of this.
Okay.
But I like how it divides down. You couldn't get an Amazon the same as the Amazon we have with that sea there. And I like how you've got the Guiana Shield on the east side, and then the top of I suppose it's still the Andes there on the east side. And I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. It looks really good.
Okay, so here we move a bit east. We've got Jan Mayen, which you've discussed.
Yeah, up by Iceland. Yeah,
up by Iceland. We've got Doggerland, which is the name of the land bridge, or kind of the land mass connecting Great Britain and Ireland to mainland Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Here, and I have counted this separately, we've got a land bridge connecting Denmark to Sweden. And the Baltic Sea is now called the Ancilles Lake.
Oh, it didn't even occur to me that's a lake now. Huh.
Yeah.
And are you counting them separately because they happen in two different time periods?
No, just because the land bridge connecting Denmark and Sweden is it's a slightly different thing. You're looking at it in a different direction. It's all to do with sea levels and glaciers and stuff, I guess. But
okay.
It's
cool.
it's two phenomena in my mind. So yeah, this was about 9,000 years ago, I think.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah.
Huh, that's not that long ago. Wow.
Well, as I said, Doggerland was on the scale of thousands of years ago.
Yeah, that's fair, yeah.
Because they found Bronze Age stuff in the Dogger Bank. Doggerland was flooded around 6,500 BC, so yeah, about 8,500 years ago.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, the Baltic is called the Ancilles Lake. We move down, we've got the Dry Mediterranean Basin. Now, this is on the scale of millions of years ago, I think. But it's believed that it was flooded, and then as sea levels and stuff changed, it became drained almost entirely, that there would have just been a few very low hypersaline lakes in it.
The Mediterranean is closing though at the moment, isn't it, as well?
I'm not sure.
I seem to think that Africa is closing in on the Mediterranean now.
It's moving north.
Yeah.
Right.
I think this is also a future event as well, that it'll seal up.
Yeah, well, Africa isn't any further north than this. It's still like roughly where it is.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is that like I think it's going to return to that state somewhat in the future as well, which I think is quite interesting.
Also, and then Europe could be like the Himalayas because of the plate crashing into it.
Exactly, yeah. And
mountains.
And I think people were saying that the Mediterranean would just be one giant hypersalinated lake.
Cool.
Which is pretty cool. I think I could be getting that wrong. I don't know. Oh, correct me if needs be. But yeah. So the Mediterranean closing up. Yep.
And as a result, the Black Lake the Black Sea will be dry as well, or probably something similar, maybe some very low hypersaline. We've got the East African Rift. We've got the Kerguelen Plateau. Now, connecting India and Sri Lanka, we have Rama Setu, also known as Adam's Bridge, and that may have existed up until medieval or like early modern, maybe Renaissance times.
Cool, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That it's thought that there was some kind of land bridge there, and that you could even walk across it until maybe the 1500s, I think.
Wow.
Huh. Yeah. Which I was very, very surprised by. Let's see, there's quite a lot about this on Wikipedia. Temple records seem to say that Adam's Bridge was completely above sea level until it broke in a cyclone in 1480.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's amazing. Because you think of these things as being so far in the past, but you're right up into the present day.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Some of the area, there's still sandbanks that are only 1 meter to 10 meters below sea level. So it's quite difficult to actually navigate through that sea, apparently.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
We've got the Sunda Shelf is what the area of Southeast Asia here is called. So like, the continental shelf that I have for Doggerland, if the sea levels were lower, then all of these lands would be connected.
And specifically though, it wouldn't connect those small islands you have next beside it.
Correct.
Okay, that's interesting.
Correct. And actually there should be a few lakes in there as well. There's a lake kind of... See where the Philippines is?
Yeah.
See the branch going west from the Philippines? There should be a large lake there. And there should be a large lake kind of further west again, kind of by the Indian Ocean.
Cool. Very cool.
Based on the depth of the sea there. The Sattel Shelf is the name for the shelf connecting Papua New Guinea and Australia. Mm-hmm. And if you look, Tasmania has also been connected to the mainland as well.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got the Lake of Japan. So Japan, when sea levels were lower, would have been connected both to Sakhalin in the north, which is now part of Russia. And to the Koreas. Mm-hmm. We've got the Bering Land Bridge, which is connecting... That's a
really famous one.
Yeah.
I think most people would like... Because I don't know half of these, but that one, and I think probably Doggerland, most people would know.
Yeah. So that's obviously connecting modern-day Alaska and the eastern end of Asia and Siberia. And finally, we've got Zealandia, which is like the Kerguelen Plateau and Jan Mayen, an actual geological formation that is just way below sea level.
And it's massive.
And it was only discovered quite recently.
That's crazy. And it's so big.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Huh. There you go.
And bits of the northern tip there are actual islands currently.
Sorry, loud noises. Hold on.
Loud noises, table noise.
Lots of table noise. Oh, there. I've declothed. That's much better. What are you doing?
I'm clicking a lighter.
The most surprising of all of them is Zealand. Did you say Zealand?
Zealandia.
Yeah, that's crazy. I had no idea. Come here. There's no Antarctica. Deliberate?
It's not that Antarctica isn't there. It's just it's an ache to draw it in at the bottom.
But you know if there's anything fun going on with Antarctica in terms of its history?
It's thought that it may be 3 separate land masses. Like if the ice were to melt, that we would see like 3 large islands rather than a single unified continent.
Oh, that's cool. I think too often in fantasy world building, people end up copying Antarctica and just having the big massive shelf at the bottom. It'd be cool to have separate islands. That'd be really cool.
Although they would still be kind of mostly covered by ice. Probably.
Yeah, but just from a like aesthetic point of view, looking at a map and being like, oh yeah, the bottom isn't all this one big blob. It's like many blobs. It looks quite otherworldly, I think. Yeah, it's cool. I like. You know what? The map looks really pretty.
Oh, cheers.
Because usually when people do these like projections of what things would look like, they tend to look really awful because we don't actually know the exact shape of these things, so they tend to just be these blobs everywhere. But I think you've done a good job making this kind of look interesting and like
thank you,
believable, and yeah, it's cool. It's really good. It's really cool.
Now, obviously, there's some stuff that I have left out. Like if these masses were to be higher, there probably would be more islands that we don't have, like off the coast of them and stuff. Like there would probably be other islands in Southeast Asia and kind of the region of Zealandia, and maybe around Doggerland, stuff that's like even further below sea level, might just be above sea level but not connected to the mainland, and so on.
And I mean, you've obviously forgotten Atlantis.
Well, I actually deliberately did not include Atlantis because I thought that would be an interesting mystery for the readers or for the viewers.
Really? What?
No.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, you said that so seriously. I was like, what? I Like, are people like, do people, okay, here's an idea, here's the thing, right? Do people have people centered in a location for Atlantis? Like, people who believe in that, are they like, yes, it's buried beneath the Pacific Ocean?
Yes.
And is yes to the Pacific Ocean or yes to the centering in on the location?
Yes to the centering in on the location.
Okay, so where is the location? Do you know?
It depends on, like, every believer has a different theory about it.
So no one's centered in on a location.
Look, loads of people have centered it on a location. They just haven't all centered it on the same location.
Huh, okay. Because I always assumed that people thought it was in the Atlantic.
Because of the name.
Yeah, exactly. Just somewhere in the Atlantic.
But I mean, like, it's been used, like, the concept of Atlantis has been used in so many different ways and by so many different writers, like, you know, and some of them taking it seriously and some of it treating entirely allegorically, and it's...
I'd assume that concept also creeps up in other cultures as well. Like, it's quite a compelling thing, like, you know...
of a lost land beneath the sea.
Yeah. I would imagine.
Very probably.
I would imagine that is not specific to one culture. Like, I think every culture would nearly have their own Atlantis.
And of course, it has happened lots of times. So.
Yeah. Like
as I said, like, there was Bronze Age people in Doggerland, and there's lost cities off the coast of Japan and stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Cool. That's any final points? Are we at the end here? I don't know.
Well, I also wanted to say, obviously, I haven't included the Caribbean, and that wasn't out of, like, just, like, total neglect. It's just I need to think about what would be happening there. So I haven't deliberately or unconsciously just left it out. It's just I haven't made any decisions about what's going on there, so I haven't included it on this version of the map. But, you know, as I said, with islands and things, I'll need to have a think about what's going on there.
Does that imply that you've thought about what's going on above Canada?
No, it's just it was kind of easier to leave them there in that way.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, cool.
Whereas, that looks... I've made a significant, you know, the northeast of Canada is mostly fine. Like, the Hudson Bay and everything is still there, and the Northwest Passage and all is there. But when I've, like, gotten rid of the entirety of Central America, I would kind of I want to actually kind of take that seriously and think about how that would affect the Caribbean and the West Indies and stuff.
Yeah, cool. Looks great, man.
Thank you.
Thoroughly enjoyed. Any closing remarks?
No, not really. I'm pretty happy with this. And I may revisit it a bit more. I have, like, certain ideas for like settings and stories and stuff that I could do with this, but I haven't made any real decisions about it yet.
Cool. Let us know in the future.
Certainly will.
Bring it up as a main topic sometime. As always, more than interested in hearing this.
Cool.
Cool. Right. Will we crack on?
Let's crack on. I'm curious to hear what you have done for this week.
Read even. Buoyed by the support of Artifexian and their positive remarks in my writing, I was like, I'm going to write some more this month. And by this month, I meant I wrote this at 2 a.m. last night. So yeah, okay. So links are in the show notes. This piece of prose. Do you want to give an executive summary? Have you read this, or do you want me to give the executive summary?
I have not read it. Will I do so right now?
Yeah, give it a read, and then maybe give us the layman's summary, who isn't involved in the writing of it.
What you have described here is returning to the setting of Takar, as far as I can tell. Mm-hmm. And it's describing how some of the substance that was previously known as X, or that is required to make X, is retrieved. Mm-hmm. Where it comes from for the rebels. So it's a small town, kind of in the middle of nowhere, but by a volcano, and the volcano is the source of this substance, which you have called Nakalite.
Nakalite, yeah.
And you've basically described the region and the town and the mining and a little bit of the society surrounding it.
Yeah, that's effectively it. What I've tried to do is take the cool things I have experienced over the summer and use them to write a bit of prose.
Yes.
So the middle of nowhere thing is a reference to the fact that I was in, and I apologize to all people from Colorado and Wyoming, but I was in Colorado and Wyoming. And it's particularly in Wyoming where it's just kind of like, it not necessarily like dust plains, but it's sort of like savanna is the best word I can have. I don't know what it actually is, that terrain. Steppe, yeah. Steppe is probably a good word. That it's just like flat forever. The same terrain, just constantly hot, constantly dry, that sort of thing. And then the volcano is the volcano in Indonesia. And then some of the societal things are based on what I saw of daily Indonesian life. So I tried to mash everything together and make a piece of prose, basically.
Mm-hmm. I mean, anyone who's listening and who listened to the last episode will see the really clear connection between what you said about going to the Ijen volcano and what you've written here.
Yeah, effectively, and I don't, I feel bad admitting this, I kind of sort of copy-pasted Wikipedia for that bit. And then just changed some of the figures, because I was like, I just really want to just describe what happened in Indonesia, and then like, Wikipedia does a good job, so I'll just copy-paste and, that sort of thing.
Great artists steal.
Great, what is it? Plagiarism is the greatest form of flattery.
Yeah.
Please don't plagiarize my stuff. Thank you, Internet. I appreciate it.
Too late now.
And then even the naming is based on where I was. Olowhato, the name of the volcano, is based on Olowhato, which is a epic temple in Indonesia.
Cool.
And then Sanoa is based on Sanur, which is a district in Indonesia. If I can just keep talking, stop me. I just want to
work away.
Want to tell you all the things. Nakalite is a mashup of the Greek word for island and I believe statue.
Okay.
Island is Nessos. Oh God, it's been so long since I looked this up, so I hope I'm right. And then I think statue is like agalma. And so I switched out all the words all the sounds that Oa doesn't have. And so Nessos became Nasos and agalma became akalma. And then I mashed them together and it was like Naka, and then it makes it sound like a element. So this is the idea that like the element X, previously known as X, is hinting at like it's an island of stability element. Do you know what the island of stability is?
Oh, that's clever.
Oh, really?
You clever fellow.
Oh, I thought that was real low-hanging fruit.
Oh, that's clever. Clever fellow, you.
Cool. Very good. But I would like to refer to this element not as Nakalite, as the locals do of Kaka. Which I think is a lot more kind of street. It's like, you got cack.
Poo.
You got Kaka, man. You got some cack.
That means poo.
Kaka.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also the name of a footballer. Like, words of meaning in different things,
Okay.
I mean, what is it? The funniest thing ever with cross-linguistic misunderstanding is I believe in Romanian, poo, like P-O-O, means to kiss.
Mm-hmm.
So that at the end of many Romanian conversations, you just hear like poo-poo, poo-poo, and it's like, this is weird. What's going on here? So that doesn't bother me that caca sounds like excrement. It's not. Do
you want to hear another funny one?
Yeah, go for it.
So, I'm a big fan of dogs.
You are. You definitely are.
And dog memes and stuff. It's a lot of like kind of dog sort of areas of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And like the sort of dog meme English that people have started using in the last couple of years.
Like Doge English.
No, not like Doge, but like doing me a frighten.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of language. So one of the terms that's used in those sort of spaces apparently is rare puppers.
Rare puppers.
So like rare, just like the normal English word rare, and puppers as in puppies or dogs. So people are always talking about looking for rare puppers, and it's exciting to see like a good picture of a dog. It's a rare pupper. Apparently, I've seen this online in, I believe it's Norwegian. Puppers means breasts. Or it's like boobs. It's like a slang word for breasts. And rare means strange. So when they see rare puppers written down, it's like rara puppers, which means weird boobs.
Ha. Go language. Yeah, so again, no one should change the meme, and I'm not changing caca. That's it. Anyways, what language is this poo for?
It's in loads of languages. It's like slang in loads of languages.
Like English included?
Yeah.
Never heard that before.
Yeah.
Huh. There you go. Learn something new every day. Will not be changed.
No.
I could change it to Kiki, but then I want the Naka, and then like Kak and Kaka, and yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow. So there you go. That's a bit of the naming and a bit of the inspiration. Is there anything in this that you find questionable, or is there anything that you think I should revisit?
At first I was a bit curious or suspicious about it, like being called elemental Nakalite. Was it like actually literally an element? But you've explained that really neatly with the island of stability thing.
Okay, cool.
So if they make a sizable wage, and they have, the miners and their families have lavish lifestyles, how is that possible in somewhere that's so distant and in the middle of nowhere? Like, how do they like get access to luxury items and stuff if it's this, like tiny town on the away from the edge of civilization?
Right, but remember, civilization will come to them to purchase the Nakalite. Like rebel traders come there to purchase it, and with them they may bring goods. So you can purchase it off them. And also, it's kind of like, it's a direct sort of thing on Indonesia. It's like the place at Ijen volcano, as far as I'm aware, again, correct me if I'm wrong, it's kind of this small town, kind of sort of in the middle of nowhere. And I think you have to get a ferry to the nearest sort of big place. But the same thing occurs there. It's like the miners are, relative to the rest of the income of the town, are fairly well off. So I didn't even question it. I just kind of thought it happens in Indonesia.
Okay, I have misread this.
Oh, okay. Well, what
because
have you
because it's relative to the average Sanoan, so it's to the average person in the town.
Oh yeah, like this,
as opposed to like the average like Takarian in general.
Oh yeah. Like this would be considered way below the poverty line in the capital, say, where the main steampunk plot would happen. Like they're by all accounts impoverished, but relatively they do fairly okay.
Cool. That's fine. I wonder, is 2,000 people, like what are you basing the number of 2,000 people on?
Literally picked the number. Upon reading it like 5 minutes ago when you were rereading it, I was kind of like, that's very small, isn't it? I should have more. I feel like we should have more.
Yeah, because I'm always like thinking about stuff like, could you have, would a thing that size function to, get enough, have enough of a workforce to go to the mines, but still, have food and have families and including children and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it isn't that. It seems a little small to me at first glance. It may not be, but
well, I mean,
that's the kind of thing that I would speaking personally, I'm telling you to do this, but that's the kind of thing that I would kind of think a lot about.
Well, here, if I phrase it like this, right? In Ijen, the mining community is about 200 people.
Okay.
So would it be unrealistic to say that 1 in 10 people in this town is dedicated to mining Nakalite?
I don't know.
See, when I phrase it, when I say,
and I don't know how much how much Nakalite is needed for what the rebels are using it for, like how much of the source is required, and kind of the economics and the supply chains involved.
Oh, there's something to write for next month. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Like when I say 1 in 10, I find it better than just 2,000. But I think I'm kind of with you. I think it needs to be a little bit more. And I suppose if you make it more, it kind of brings across more this idea that this is like this, like overpopulated, like shanty town. You know, as opposed to like, everyone has like their own little plot of land and there's lots of space and things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe boosting up the population might be an idea. But again, that was just like literally, I just wanted a number there. I just wanted to be like, what's small? 2,000? Yeah, cool. Let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that needs a little bit more introspection. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is really good. Secrecy is of the utmost importance. That's cool. So that they don't have any advanced technology because it can be picked up by surveillance. But the heat of the volcano tends to mask the signatures of the miners themselves.
So yeah, on that, this is kind of the point I was kind of trying to get at. If we imagine Takar is this like a futuristic steampunk setting, but at the same, like that would be like in like the capital and like the heavily populated areas. But at the same time, there is this sort of like old worldy thing going on. And do you think the sort of hand waving of being like no technology and heat of the volcano trap signatures is enough to be like, yeah, that could happen, even though there's like spaceships and satellites and advanced tracking things or whatever?
Do I think that makes sense?
Yeah, does that feel realistic?
Sure. I mean, I don't know. Like, is the whole thing, like the whole area is hot enough to mask human body temperature at all times? Seems a little bizarre. But maybe there's paths they follow. There's paths of like hot water from springs on the mountainside that they follow to evade detection.
Oh, that's really good, because then you can. Oh, that's brilliant. You can make like the ascent even be even more arduous because they have to take an extremely long route to try and hit all of these areas, as opposed to like as the crows flies up the mountain. That's really cool. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it isn't necessary. But it would seem like a little curious to me for the entire area to be as hot as a person.
But it's enough to suspend disbelief?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly, okay, cool. It'd be interesting to see.
It could even be like the hot gases is like the hot gases of smoke and stuff in the air make thermal surveillance unreliable.
Yeah, that's fair. And and it's not like the entire town is hidden from satellites. It's like they know there's a town there. They just don't suspect that there's anything nefarious going on because the volcano appears like a big giant red splurge on the map.
I would suspect you can't even use thermal imaging like that from space, to be honest.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't. Yeah, I've no.
You probably couldn't, because like there's so many like different bands of temperature and stuff in the atmosphere.
Yeah, but so then the idea of satellites being able to pick up EM signatures, is that...
EM signatures from technology and stuff, maybe, because, the things like broadcast radio waves and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine thermal imaging would be out. I don't know for sure, but I'd imagine so. Okay,
that's cool. If that is the case, subreddit, let me know. I can get rid of that extra little disclaimer and just be like, no technology, it hides us.
But they could still have say like drones or like very high altitude planes that would have thermal imaging. So then maybe if for that case they still use the hot springs as a path.
Now I'm imagining like the main continent on Takar to be akin to a sort of like Pangea style thing.
Oh, okay.
And so what I've read, again, I could be entirely wrong because I haven't really looked into it, is that if you have a big, massive landmass, conditions become increasingly more hostile as you enter the interior.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, so this town is kind of situated in the interior, and my thought is that the government is too busy like with space trade and like, doing all the stuff in capital cities and all the big urban areas to bother flying all of this stuff all over some little place. Like it's kind of like the kind of like, the NSA sends a whole load of drones over some random small town in Wyoming for reasons. Like, do you know what I mean? There's no reason to do so.
You're imagining that the government doesn't know that this is where the rebel supply of Nacolite is coming from.
Exactly, because they know that there's a town, but there's nothing nefarious from the outside going on there, so there's no reason to send drones ever. So the only problem I would see is that satellites will pick up stuff, because they're scanning everything all the time. But I would imagine...
Would it not be curious that they know there's a town there, but that there's no technology being used there? Or is it only on the mountain you're not allowed to use the technology?
No, it's nowhere. But like again, I would imagine the hand wavy thing there would be like this town is so poor they can't afford it. It's kind of like, oh, this is a slum town. Who cares what's going on there? And
possibly.
maybe not no technology. Like maybe they have like Earth standard modern technology, but they don't have like, I don't know, like their equivalent of lightsabers or whatever.
Yeah, they don't have like laser smartphones.
Exactly, laser smartphones. Yeah,
the logical next step.
So maybe they are, yeah, exactly. Maybe they have technology, but just are way, 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 way behind what is standard in this futuristic, steampunky sort of thing.
Yeah. I'm going to be real kind of deep nerdy about this for a second.
Go for it.
There will be so much to point them towards this location in terms of, because they'd presumably be analyzing the movements of rebel suspects and their supply chains and communications and stuff. That there will be a lot more ways to figure out that this is where it is coming from, other than direct surveillance. Like signals intelligence and stuff is such a big element of things that you can find out so much from.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah.
I mean, it's a small point. And maybe there's a lot of reasons that they could know about it, but not be intervening yet. And that doesn't affect necessarily the behavior of the people there. Yeah,
another thing I had in mind was that they know about it, but they couldn't really care, because maybe the idea I had was that the rebels' interference with space trade is a bigger deal. Like the volcano doesn't actually give that much nacolite. Like it's important, but it's not like the main source of nacolite. And the main source is like the government will mine that big giant gas planet, and the rebels will like bomb their freighters, and that's like the biggest deal for them. Something like that. That feels a little bit more flimsy, but I don't know. But that's interesting. That's something I should look at, I think.
Yeah.
Because I want it to be kind of solid, at least solid to the point that you can suspend disbelief. Because even if it is nitpicky, you don't want people being like, actually, wait, that makes no sense. You know?
I like this bit at the end about the small offering basket of woven devil grass. That's obviously based on what you described from Bali.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
And also a bit of a Stephen King reference there. You can't hurt her throwing the old devil grass every now and then.
I don't know what that is.
From the Gunslinger.
It's been a long time since I read the Gunslinger.
Okay, devil grass is like the drug.
Apparently the movie is terrible.
I hear the movie's meant to be terrible. It was fraught with troubles making it.
It had a really good cast.
Yeah, I think part of the problem though is that they crammed way too much in. Because I watched the trailer for it or something, and I was like, wait a minute, none of this is in the Gunslinger. And it's like, oh crap, have they taken like some of the obnoxiously long like books later on and tried to condense it into one movie? I think that might be a problem with it. Because when I first heard about it, I was like, I don't think the Gunslinger will make a very good movie. Just that book.
I think it'll make a great movie.
No, it feels like though, like the ending of it, there doesn't feel like there's a cinematic kind of climax to it. It feels very much like it's part of a larger thing.
Right.
And I don't think there was any word of them doing like a trilogy of Gunslinger movies. So I thought
that was the impression I got.
Was it?
A series of it, yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. If that was the case, then yeah, fine, go for it. But I thought if they're going to make one self-contained movie, if they were to finish up where the Gunslinger finish up, it's kind of a bit of a sort of letdown in terms of a movie-going experience.
You know what made me suspicious about it?
What, Bill?
I saw one of the trailers, and in the trailer, it's like a bit of an action sequence or whatever, and Idris Elba as the Gunslinger. I love Idris. Like, I love Idris Elba. I think he's so cool.
Yep.
But there was a bit where he was like having a gunfight, and he like threw a fully loaded like speed reloader with like 6 bullets into the air, and he with his left hand, and he brought his right hand around with the chamber of the revolver out, and he caught the speed loader in the like chamber and flicked it back into the gun like in midair with the gun. He caught it like in the chamber, and I just thought that was utterly ridiculous, and it was not the impression of the kind of what I thought the gunfighting in the series was like. I thought it was like, he's a really good shot, but not that he's a ninja.
No. Wizard. Oh, I totally disagree. I thought he was a ninja.
But like, that's just silly. Like, that's just really silly. Like throwing the thing in midair and catching it in the gun as you fire, as you fight. Like, I just thought that was stupid.
Yeah, but the impression I got, now again, I've only ever read the first book, but the impression I got was that like they were like Jedis, but for guns. Like they were like naturally gifted and trained from an early age to do like feats that were just beyond the scope of any normal human being.
Like with like actually shooting things, but I don't know, that just looked really stupid to me.
I'm okay with that. That's not. I can see why you think it'd be really stupid, but that doesn't bother me too much. Because I think if you're going to do like that sort of crazy like superpowered sort of thing, that's fine if it's done in an action sequence for like kind of dramatic effect. But if you do like a Attack of the Clones sort of like just doing loads of crazy Jedi stuff, not necessarily in a battle scene, just for the sake of doing Jedi stuff, then that's a bit jarring. But if it's like a little short thing in a battle sequence, you're kind of like, this guy's cool. But again, I totally see your point. I'm going to watch the movie. I'm going to see what it's like. I will report back. But yeah. So anyhow, there you go. There's my bit of writing. Check it out in the show
I really
notes.
like this.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think it's as kind of punchy as the last one. The last one had a kind of clear beginning, middle, and end. This one trying to just like lays out the things and then stops when the things have all been covered.
And just to pick up something you said a while ago, I really like the idea of the cyberpunk world with all the high tech having this kind of stuff on the outside of it. Yeah, I think it's really effective. It really fills out the setting for me. And I mean, you know, so much of the original cyberpunk is so kind of like it's about a lot of it's to do like the alienation of technology, and a lot of it can be quite anti-capitalist and stuff. And this reinforces that in my mind, and it's important to have the contrast there that, you know, all of this sorry, I'm going to get really lefty for a second. All of this technology and power and like advanced stuff that exists is at the cost of human suffering of these kind of people.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, definitely. And then even just on a simpler sort of level, it's like I find it really annoying when futuristic settings are just painted as all being like tech havens, when it's kind of like, we live in a technologically advanced world, but not everyone has a smartphone. Like, it varies, and I hate it when it's just this ubiquitous, everyone has the same level of tech everywhere because it's the future.
I like it in Star Trek because that's kind of the gist of it, is that they've solved so many of those problems, and Earth is a really great place now because they have this kind of utopian society. Right. But it's done quite well there, I think. But
also going back to this idea of like Trek is a sea voyage set in space, you can think of Earth then as just being a single island. And then the rest of the planets they visit, they bring the diversity, and we think of the universe as just being the world.
Yeah.
You know, whereas if they went to every single planet and every single planet is as technologically advanced as the rest because future, that would be so boring. Like, you need to have like places that are really advanced, places that are not so advanced, places that are decidedly less advanced for whatever reasons. And that's just colorful, I think.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, the miners of Olowhato. Go read it in the show notes and let me know what you think. Keep the criticisms and comments coming. It's really cool. Like, it gets me really pumped to write stuff. And y'all are making me a slightly better writer. Okay, have we got anything else to cover in the main part, or should we head into the green room?
I thought that there was another thing there, but again, I've forgotten what it was, so let's move on.
As always, it can be follow-up for next time.
Exactly. So, welcome to the green room, Edgar.
Hey, the green room. It's good to be back.
I have two small things I want to bring up.
Okay, cool.
I have recently watched quite a lot of a TV show called The Expanse.
As have I.
Oh, you've watched it recently?
I have. I have thoughts about it. I've maybe watched like 6 episodes.
Okay, I just finished season 1. I think I'm an episode into season 2.
Okay. I have thoughts at the end of that, but go for it. Tell me your thing.
It took me a couple of episodes to get into. I didn't like it for the first two, which I watched a few months ago, and then I decided, sure, I'll give it another shot, and I watched it there a few days ago, about a week ago, and I really enjoyed it, and I caught up real quick to where I am now. But it's quite interesting from a conlanging point of view.
How so?
Well, they have created... It's based on a series of books, and for anyone who doesn't know, the setting is a sort of medium future solar system, a few hundred years away, where humans have begun to colonize the solar system and the outer planets and things. And there's this kind of a distinct class of people called the Belters, who are those who don't live on either Earth or Mars, but live in the asteroid belt and further afield.
Yeah.
And they have a sort of a language among themselves, which is reasonably clearly derived from English, but isn't quite mutually intelligible with English.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in the original novels, but it's been developed quite heavily for the TV show. And I'm really interested in it. It sounds at first, or to me, it sounded at first like someone with a South African accent trying to imitate Jamaican English, or possibly trying to imitate West African Pidgin.
Yeah, I always kind of thought of it as like a South African patois.
Yeah. But I've read a few things about the linguist who's developing it, and he's incorporated loads of different elements, and he's talking about how that's a real intrinsic part of the world building. Like, if he includes a Zulu word, that means that there are people who speak Zulu in the belt.
Oh, that's fascinating. I thought it was bordering on just gobbledygook, but I didn't realize they have someone in there actually working at that. That changes things. I need to go look this up and read about it. This sounds really fascinating.
It's really interesting, and there's quite a lot to it. And he works quite closely with the directors and the actors, and with the voice coaches. He works with an accent coach, and the actors work with the accent coach to kind of get it right.
He isn't the guy who did Avatar or the guy who did Dothraki. They're two separate dudes, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think this is another guy.
Oh, okay.
Another guy, a third guy. And he's given the scripts with like what the Belters are meant to say when they're speaking, because like most of them speak kind of a standard, recognizable English as well. But for bits that are meant to be in Belter speak, he comes up with a few versions, like one that's very, very divergent, one that's kind of medium, and one that's much more intelligible. And then they decide together which of the three versions to use for shooting and stuff. And he's quite active on Twitter, and if you send him requests, apparently he will go off and think about it and translate it into Belter for you.
Get out.
I've seen his Twitter, and he's done that a few times, yeah.
Oh, here, links in the show notes, people.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and also it's, as I said, it's a pretty cool show. As I said, I'm at the start of season 2, and it took me a little while to get into it, but I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah, can I give you my thoughts on it?
Please do.
This has Edgar written all over it, right?
It certainly does.
Like, everything about this should be a thing I really enjoy, but I can't get into it. It's been these 6-7 episodes, whatever, and every time I go to watch one, I'm kind of like, I'm forcing myself to keep going, and I can't even pinpoint why. It's like, it's produced really well, the acting's really good, the world is interesting, the whole conlanging thing was interesting, and now it's become even more interesting. But there's just, maybe it's a pacing thing, I don't know what it is, but there's something about that show that I'm not getting hooked. And yeah, I just literally, I don't know. I'm going to keep going because everyone has talked about how great this is, and I want to experience it, just, to say I have. I hope something happens where I become really into it. But it's just been meh. Like, I'm not even angry about it. Like, I'm not even like, oh, I wasted so much time with The Expanse. I'm just kind of like, I have no feelings. But that's it. It's really strange. Really strange.
I really like the old politician lady.
The old politician, the Indian lady?
Yeah.
The Indian, I suppose, yeah.
I think she's cool as hell.
She is. But again, you see, I don't know, I can't muster any...
But you don't care.
Yeah, I just don't care. Like, I appreciate how she's cool. Like, she seems to be this kind of like down-to-earth, kind woman. And then also, tortures people and
like utterly without ruth.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. And then like is a real like ruthless wheeler dealer, and it's like she's a complex character. She's by all accounts interesting, but it's just I don't know what it is. I'm just kind of like, yeah, that's great. I don't know. Once I finish it, I'll come back to you with my thoughts.
Cool.
But yeah, I don't know what it is. But there you go. The Expanse. Everyone should go watch it because I think this is just maybe an Edgar thing. It is objectively really good. I'm just weird, I suppose, is the take home here. Yeah, and you've another thing you want to bring up?
Yeah, so you'll be familiar, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners are familiar, that I'm a fan of a game called Pathfinder.
Yes.
Which is essentially it's a version of the D&D 3rd edition rule set made by a group called Paizo. I think it's Paizo. And they have, in the last month, or maybe a little over, released a new game called Starfinder.
Oh, it sounds good.
Which is essentially a science fantasy role-playing game.
Ooh.
Yeah, based, pretty similar in a lot of ways to Pathfinder. And so if anyone's familiar with, like, 3rd edition D&D or any of the kind of D20 based systems, they'll get the gist of it pretty quickly. A couple of interesting things to it. Couple of interesting changes, streamlined in a lot of ways, and set in the distant future of the kind of base Pathfinder setting. And yeah, it's quite cool. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I got the rule book pretty much the day it came out, and I've been following a couple of different groups online and stuff, and an actual play podcast of the game, which I'll link in the show notes, called Cosmic Crit. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think they've done something really interesting here. It's broken a load of RPG sales records. They sold out at Gen Con, and they've broken all of their personal sales records. First edition is already completely gone. Like the first printing of the rulebook is already completely gone, and there's been a lot of buzz about it.
Oh, okay. So I have several points here, right? Mm-hmm. Number one, are you aware of GURPS?
Yes.
Okay, so GURPS is like very often it's kind of good fodder for my videos because it gives you like the world building side of things as well. Yeah. Like it goes through formulating how to construct that. Does this have some of that? Should I try and get this rule book? Will this feed into my videos?
In terms of like giving you equations and things like GURPS does?
Yes, but not limited to that. As in, would this have useful information that should be dispersed for other world builders to know?
No.
Okay. All right.
It's got good. Like it's a good setting, I think, and so it's got fun stuff in it and fun ideas for anyone else who wants to build a science fiction-y, kind of a soft sci-fi or a science fantasy setting.
But it's not like GURPS in the sense of like, here is a method for constructing a setting to play our game in.
No.
Okay.
Paizo have done that in some of their other books. Like other stuff in the Pathfinder line does give you, say, here's a tool to make an interesting city or whatever for your game. But it's kind of presented more in terms of rules rather than in terms of real life mathematics and statistics and metrics.
Okay, so not something I necessarily need to pick up.
No, it wouldn't be all that relevant to kind of a general world building practice. Okay,
cool. And then the other thing I was going to say was I was thinking at some stage, possibly for a like April Fool's Day video. And it kind of defeats the purpose of, saying this on the podcast, but, whatever. As a special sort of bonus video or whatever, I was thinking we should, what do you think about the idea of doing a one-off D&D thing?
Yeah.
Like, I think that would be really cool if we could get some of our friends. Now, there'd be a logistical nightmare trying to get like more people to record and people to show up at the correct time and mics, and I don't know how we're going to work that. But I think it'd be kind of fun if one of us or both of us kind of quickly came up with enough of a world to work for like a 2-hour one-off. And and then play
Sure.
through it and stuff. And that might be a cool thing to do. So yeah, that might be something, because I'm going to start a new D&D campaign in November.
Oh, really?
Yeah, now that I have a house. Oh yeah, I live in Castle Edgar now. I have a home. I am I'm no longer a vagrant traveling around the world living on people's couches. Now that I have an actual place, I was asked, do I want to play D&D? And then the D&D guys were like, yeah, come to this pub. And I'm like, no, you can come to my house. It's fine. And we can play in the house, which is a lot nicer of an atmosphere.
Great.
So then, yeah, based on that, I'm kind of like, be nice to play, like, be nice to record that. Like, it can be really fun. I remember from when we played D&D together, like, some of the sessions were hilarious.
Yeah.
And it might be a cool thing to do, and then frame it around this idea of like, this is a world we've constructed, and maybe some of the workings of it will be revealed through the playing of the game, and people might get some information. It might be an idea.
I mean, that's not entirely out of the question for me to use some of Handwavia for that.
Yeah, but that's already pre-made stuff. The big problem is, well, one, I wonder, would people care about any of the other characters in our life, like as in friends, like as in, you know, we bring along Joe Blogs. Artifexia does not know Joe Blogs, you know?
Yeah.
So that might be one. And two, the logistics of even just getting a third person means like we're going to need to start some sort of server, like a Discord thing, mics, and so there's problems. But I'm glad
we could do it in person one time.
There's still mics.
Yeah.
And still mics are still, and even like one thing I hate, and sometimes I get that it's a necessity that it must happen for money reasons, but when people do a gaming podcast like that, and they have like one mic in the center of the table, and you can kind of sort of only hear everyone at like 50% because of that. It's just, it's not immersive, you know? So anyhow, lots of logistics.
I'll ask Chaotic Adequate how they manage it, because I think they record in person and sound quality is usually quite good, so.
I would imagine mics, lots of mics.
Yeah.
And then we need a mixer, because, I mean, would everyone bring their laptops and put their laptops on the table where we're meant to be playing D&D? Like, I'd imagine you'd want one recording station and run a load of mics into the mixer, and then I have to buy one, and then it's like... But anyhow, possible future project. Artifexia, let us know if that's a thing you're interested in. If you are, maybe we can kind of accelerate that process. We'll see how it goes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there are my 2 points on that. Is there anything else?
No, that's my stuff for Green Room today.
Okay, buckle in, Bill. This might go for a while.
Click.
Stop me at 1 sec. Stop me at any time if this goes too long. So first thing, anyways, is I was in the States, and I met up with Zidnaf.
Brilliant.
In person, and I can confirm Zidnaf is corporeal. He is of possession of a body, and if anyone would like to...
Not a purely conceptual creature.
He's not a purely conceptual creature. Also, he's not a small, chubby Asian child, which I had in my mind, which is weird. You know where you paint these images of people you've never seen before?
No.
Being serious?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had this thing before. You don't do this. Yeah. Or I do. I get very strong, vivid imagery of what these people look like. Like people on radio, I have strong imagery of what they look like. And they never look the way they do. But yeah, in my head, Zidnaf was a small, relatively chubby, like Asian child, dark hair, bowl cut, kind of a bit bouncy and jolly and stuff. And
so you thought Zidnaf was the boy from Up?
The boy from... Do you know what? That is not too far off.
Okay.
I thought Zidnaf, that is fair. I thought Zidnaf was effectively the boy from Up, but he wasn't. And if I'm going to send you a picture, and if anyone's interested, links in the show notes to Zidnaf's face if you're interested.
Oh, for God's
sake. So yeah, if you're interested, check it out. Links in the show notes. Anyhow, point being, I want to thank Zidnaf and his sister and his family and everyone for having me. It was awesome, and I'm glad to have seen the States and to see the eclipse. I seen the eclipse with them, which was incredible.
Class.
Yeah, and so without their generosity and their hospitality, I would not have been able to do these things. And it really means a great deal. So on air, publicly, just want to say thanks a million to the entirety of the NAF family. Short horrific story. You kind of know this, but I want to put on the podcast. I had a stopover in San Francisco airport.
Okay.
And in San Francisco, I lost my laptop.
Oh God.
Like an idiot. My like €3,500 laptop, the thing that I had saved up for so hard. And I had left it at an information desk. And then just as I was trying to get my check-in to the plane, I was like, oh crap, I'm missing a bag. Oh no. And so an extra shout out, a lovely Hawaiian couple got the laptop. They brought it to an information desk, and through pure serendipity, I happened to be walking just aimlessly around the airport trying to look for this thing. And out of the corner of my eye, I see them at the information desk with my bright red laptop bag. And I need to thank and apologize, particularly the male in the couple, because I kind of sort of mauled him when I see that. I went up and was like, "Thank you," and then just like gave him a massive hug, and he's like, What do you want? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's my laptop. Like, thank you so much. So I managed to get it back. And so thanks to the hospitality, thanks to the kindness of the people in San Francisco airport. That was awesome, because without the laptop, everything I do would have gone, you know?
Yeah.
No means of recording a podcast, no means of making videos. Just, yeah, that would have been the end. And I can't afford to buy another one because, you know, Apple's extortionate prices.
Yeah.
So quick story there. So it was equal parts lovely and heartbreaking, and the whole thing was great. So there you go, America. Now the real thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about Undertale. And anyone who has played Undertale and likes Undertale should stop listening right now. There's no other content in this episode. This is the last thing we're going to say. So stop listening right now, because this is not going to go well. Have you played...
I do have one thing that I forgot to say earlier.
Okay, do you want to put it in now?
I'll put it in now real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
On my map, the shape I have for... Sorry, no, this is important. The map that I have for the Kerguelen Plateau, I found a few versions online, but I mainly derived one from one that I found on DeviantArt by a guy called Friodoric. And I didn't want to like use it without giving them a legitimate shout out. So sorry, just while I think of it, because I have the tab open, I just want to say that I'll put the link in the show notes for it. I didn't want to just rip someone's work off and give them no credit whatsoever. So I use that to help me to figure out the shape of Kerguelen Plateau for my map. Okay, I just wanted to get that done. Let's talk about Undertale.
Oh my god, that's brilliant. Okay. Okay, Undertale. Have you played Undertale?
I have not. I'm only vaguely aware of it.
Okay, alright. Well, do you mind spoilers? Very,
no.
Very mild. I only played like 2 hours of the game, and it'll become apparent why I only played 2 hours in a second. Anyhow, so Undertale, I'm only vaguely aware of the phenomenon that is Undertale. I know it's a game that's been raved about.
Yeah.
I know it's an 8-bit RPG, and I know that the kind of premise of it is to like toy with the idea of what an RPG is.
Yeah.
And that's
I've heard that it's a great game with a sometimes very annoying fan base. That's one of the things I've heard about it.
Oh boy, there's the two particular people who I know might be listening at this point where I'm kind of like, I apologize in advance for this. I'm really sorry. We are not referring to anyone in particular. This is really important.
It's not my opinion. It's just a thing that I've heard online. That's one of the impressions I've gotten from it. Like, you know how stuff can be really good, and you know, otherwise good people. Let's say like people who are fine can be fans of it, and that's fine. But also, you get like a really obnoxious set of fans.
Yeah,
like, you know how like any nerd community has obnoxious nerds, or how, you know, I'm sure My Little Pony is a perfectly good cartoon, but bronies are still kind of weird when they take it too far.
Oh. Yeah, everything makes that's all very diplomatic. But again, I just need to stress to particularly a handful of people that I know might be listening. We're not talking about anyone in particular. Okay, this is really important. Oh God, I feel like I'm burning friends as we go.
Okay, anyway. Well, I'm feeling pretty okay.
Of course you're okay. No, but I get your point. Yeah, with any fan thing, with any collection of people, there's always going to be good people and bad people in that, and there's always be people who take it too far or get too in the weeds and things like that.
And certain things can have obnoxious communities, and that doesn't reflect in any way on the community in general.
Yeah, exactly.
On the individuals in general, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Anyway, so Undertale is an RPG and toys with the idea of being an RPG. I played this on a recommendation of a friend, and I was like viscerally angry at the fact that I gave this developer money. Like, this game was is to me, jaw-droppingly awful. And I was like, I'm not doing the hipster thing where you dislike the thing that's popular. I'm an RPG head. I adore RPGs. And I was like trying to get into this game, trying to understand it. And it's just, it was unfathomable to me how bad the game is. Now, to explain my point here, this whole idea that it's a commentary on RPGs, to me, it feels like some guy had a son or daughter who grew up to be an RPG head. And this dad would look over the shoulder of their children while they play and be like, yeah, I totally get RPGs and I'm going to make fun of it in a real dad humor jokey way. And the whole game feels like it's been constructed by an old man who's only capable of puns and really low-hanging fruit humor all the time. And it's it's constant. There hardly a little bit of dialogue goes by without there being some sort of pun, some sort of stupid joke that only works because maybe it's so terrible that it works. And it's there's no respite from it. It's it's all the time. And then I don't get the story. What's going on? A girl fell down the hole and is now in Monsterland. Okay, great. And she has to leave Monsterland. It's kind of where's the compulsion to care about this? I'm used to JRPGs where it's let's just take Final Fantasy X. Now, I realize it's a very, very different thing. But in the first hour, say, of playing Final Fantasy X, you're introduced to a celebrity protagonist who on a culminating moment in his career is destroyed by a city-sized massive monster that comes and lays waste to his homeland, and he is guided by this mysterious character he sort of kind of knows into the monster. And then he's transported 1,000 years into the future and finds out that not only is he in the future, but everything he knew is gone. And he has to try and rebuild, try and regroup. And then that's before we even get into the actual premise of the thing. So immediately you're hit with it. And it's this, ooh, I need to understand this story and live this story. But in Undertale, it's girl, boy, I don't know what it is, fell down the well and monsters and is going to leave. And it's okay, there's no compulsion for me to keep playing, and it's just aggravating. And then the soundtrack, sorry Bill, I'm sorry, just stop me at any time. The soundtrack is largely perceived as being a great soundtrack. I agree. I think the music is beautiful. Okay. Really, really great music. The only problem is that every time dialogue comes up, it's the sound effect that goes along with the words showing up in the bubbles is akin to someone took a typewriter, put it in a blender and blitzed it and then reassembled the disemboweled parts and began hacking away at that for the sound. It's overly loud and it drowns out the music and it's just Chinese water torture. Every time one of these really annoying puntastic monster speaks to you and you're I want to murder every one of those characters indiscriminately. And it's I'm so viscerally angry thing. And the checkpoints are in really silly locations. The battle system is what's going on with the battle system? Like, it's just, none of it makes sense. And it's just, I don't even understand why this is a thing. It's just, it hurts so much, Bill. It's like,
So like out of 10, it'd be a strong 7 or a weak 8. That's the impression I'm getting here. Have I got that right?
I think we need negative numbers, to be fair. And I'm trying not to just be scathing because it's like a thing, but it's just, I don't get it. I don't get this thing at all. And I have a sneaky suspicion it's very much like Star Wars, in that when you go back and actually watch the Star Wars movies, I think most of us who aren't like kind of ingrained Star Wars nerds can kind of accept that they're not brilliant. Like, there's moments of brilliance in them, but for the most part, it's kind of like, it's okay, it's mediocre. Like, the characters are kind of stupid. Like, Wookiees are kind of silly when you think about it. And the giant slugs, like the Hutts, like, it's kind of silly. And like, there's so much of it that's kind of like a bit nonsense. But it's the culture that sprung up around Star Wars, and all the like people trying to like, write books about how lightsabers work that make it super, super interesting. And I think this is what's happened here, although I don't know about the fan community. But I feel like people have found a thing in this game and went on and made this game more than it is, and therein lies the brilliance of the thing. I think the game in and of itself, when you're not connected to the community, is just awful. Like, it's I don't know. Sorry, rant.
That's okay. I have nothing to offer.
Can I send you a clip? And can I get to watch now? And can I get your thoughts on it? Because again, I wonder, is this because you're not involved in the community either, and we both kind of, I think, have the same level of knowledge about this game. So just from an outside perspective, what do you think of like aesthetics, delivery, premise? Now I realize it's only a little short clip, but it's in Skype there.
Cool.
Have a watch. It's 5 minutes. Try and watch the whole 5 minutes if you can.
Okay. What was stupid?
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay, so the clip I just sent Bill was it happens at the start of the game, so no big spoilers. It's like the date with this character called Papyrus, whose sole existence, as far as I can discern, is just there to be kind of a bit of a goofball. And you go on this date with the character for reasons I don't know. And then this is the battle scene that kind of, I'll link this in the show notes, but it's the battle scene that kind of occurs. And thoughts? What did you think about this?
There were some vaguely funny moments.
See, I think for me though, like the entire time I was sitting there, jaw on the floor, being like, what am I experiencing here? Why?
It's kind of annoying.
It was. Do you see what I mean about the text though?
Yeah.
It's so loud, and it happens all the time. And also, he's called Papyrus, and the font of his dialogue is the Papyrus font. And it's like, Christ, lads. It's just this like low-hanging fruit humor, and it's really annoying, and none of it makes sense to me, and I'm aggravated because I don't understand what this is.
People shouldn't like things that you don't like, Edgar.
People shouldn't like things. People should. People totally should. And then people should tell me why they like it, because I'm intrigued, because clearly this game exploded like 2 years ago, something like that, maybe a year ago. And I want to understand why. Like, what is it I'm not getting here? Like, I'm clearly not getting something. Because, like, my reaction to this doesn't fit right with me. You know, I should be into this game. I like RPGs. And if something can be, like, you know, make fun of an RPG, then great. That sounds even better. Like, loads of meta commentary on RPGs. But this just doesn't work. Like, I don't understand. I don't know. And then a last point, I could go on for days about this, but one last point is the battle system is so arbitrary. Like the way it works is that you are given choices. Oh no, I should explain this to you. Do you know a thing? Do you know that there's this thing called the pacifist run through?
The what?
The pacifist run through.
In games in general, you try to go do a game without killing anyone.
Yeah, so this is a thing in this game. It's like, I think the standard run through is meant to be like you don't kill things. Because the game reacts to you doing the standard RPG thing and becomes, I believe, harder and more laborious the more you try to RPG it. So in this pacifist run through, you don't fight. You do this thing called act, and it brings up a whole load of commands, like as in you meet this dog in a suit of armor later on for, again, reasons, and the commands are like pet, beckon, roll around, and things like that. And then it's kind of like you're just picking wildly, and then like, so I started off and I was like, okay, let's pet the dog. Nope, wrong answer. Battle scene. I'm like, okay, and then you arbitrarily go back and pick another option, like, I don't know, beckon, and then it's like the dog comes closer, and you're like, okay, that was the right answer. Battle scene. And you're like, wait a minute, so hold on, I get punished if I select the right answer and the wrong answer. What am I even doing here? Why is this happening?
Right.
And then
the game doesn't give you any guidance on what to do, like.
No, okay, now there are times where it does, where it's kind of clearly obvious what you should kind of, what is the most natural thing to pick. But there's times where it's kind of like, oh, okay, no, I'm just picking wildly in the dark here. Like that beckon thing. Like, I didn't know to call the thing over. Why don't I pet the dog? My natural reaction to seeing a dog is to pet the dog if they're not like rabid and stuff.
How can you pet the dog if the dog isn't beside you? And if the dog is beside you, how do you beckon it closer?
Yeah, fair enough. But like even that, it's like, why are we doing this? Why is that even an action? Like, just put the dog close to me. It's like, it's so frustrating. And like, I just don't, there's nothing about this game I understand. Like, and then just little nitpicky things, like if you're doing the passive thing and you just don't want to kill anything, you like, you do this thing called spare. And like the game is like fighting you. It's like you go spare and they're like, nope, battle. And you're like, I don't want to battle. And it's like, you try again after that little battle sequence and you go spare. And then the game just goes, nope. And you're like, I want to murder everything because of this game. Like, it's just not an enjoyable experience. It's just, the thing that makes me so kind of like angry about it is that like it cost $10, which is fine. I have no problem spending $10 on a game. But for like a couple of quid more, I realized, and I don't know how I didn't realize this before, the entire Final Fantasy back catalogue is on Steam. Mm-hmm. I could have bought 7 again. I could have played 8 again and 9, and I could have tried 12 again, but I'm stuck with Undertale. It's like,
you can stop playing it, Edgar.
Yeah, I have. I was like, okay, I'm going to sit through this and do this, and I got to like the 2.5 hour mark or something. And I was like, there's nothing in this for me. It's just, I'm done. I rarely put down a game, and I'm just kind of like, I see no value in this creation at all. And this is the point where everyone unsubscribes, right? Our Patreon, right? This is going to die a painful death.
I couldn't say anything offensive. I'm still brilliant. People will stick around for me. I make up for all your awfulness.
Bill, everyone loves Bill. Everyone loves Bill. The majority of the Reddit comments are always very Bill-centric.
That's not true.
That is true. Mainly because you do, because loads of times I haven't shown up with any of my homework done. So it's like, well, obviously we're going to talk about Bill's creation because it is the only creation. But yeah, everyone. Okay, guys, if you're considering unsubscribing from the podcast, just spare a moment for Bill. Anyhow, that's my rant over. Someone tell me why I'm wrong. Someone tell me what I'm missing. I really want to understand this. I just don't. Yeah. Anything else there, Bill?
No. Will we leave it at that?
I'm so sorry to subject you to this.
That's okay.
Okay, I will see you next month. Have a good one. And I'll see all the listeners next month. Take care, everyone. And Edgar out.
Edgar out.